Hey, everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the Engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live, headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay, every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Arts Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.
Hey, y'all, I'm KC.
And I'm Tyler.
And this is the elk hunting series from the Element Podcast.
If you want to get on elk, it helps to hang with dudes that know elk.
And that ain't us, but luckily the dudes that know elk have cell phones, and we called them up.
So whether you're a veteran of September or you're just cutting your ivories in the elk woods, you're going to hear something here that'll help you get the full draw this fall.
If you find this podcast helpful, poke that subscribe button and go check out our elk hunting playlist on YouTube. Now let's rock and roll. All right, guys, today on the show, we have got the rock star Robbie Trujillo, guitarist and champion elk hunter. Robbie, how are you tonight, man?
Wow, I'm doing pretty great. Thank you for that introduction. Never been introduced as a rock star before, but I appreciate that. I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing well, man. Summer has kind of broken. It was hot today. It pushed 100 here, but the evenings are cool and mornings are nice. So you can just tell, like we're pushing towards that great time of year that we all love and cherish, and that's whenever we get to go out in the woods and pursue mammals with sticks and strings and guns and stuff, So it's coming quick, man. It's coming very, very soon. And as a little background on you, you are famous, but not as much in the elk sphere. Is that correct?
I don't think I'm famous in any sphere.
Are you not? What about the Northern Hemisphere? Does that count? Oh, come on. You have a really popular YouTube channel where you do some guitar lesson type stuff.
Yeah, I do that. I don't know how popular it is in the YouTube world, but a few years ago, I started I love country music. I love playing the guitar. I've been doing that since high school. And so I started this YouTube channel a little bit and put in some videos, and some people started to enjoy them and found them helpful. So I've been just trying to do more of that, and I'm having a lot of fun doing those videos and learning songs. I kind of got out of playing guitar for a little while, and this kind of got me back into it and forced me to start learning songs again and playing more. And yeah, it's been fun to see that channel grow and see the people that appreciate what I'm doing and find the lessons helpful and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I wouldn't call myself famous at all, but I have some people that really, really enjoy that stuff and what I do, and I'm having fun with that.
Dude, 1,200 videos of guitar stuff? That is,
well,
dude, do you sleep? When do you sleep?
Yeah, there for a while, I didn't, I'd like go to work, come home on my lunch break, record a video, come home after work, try to record stuff, kind of anytime I wasn't at work or hunting, I was doing the guitar stuff to try to just sort of grow that as quickly as I could and put out as much of that content as I could.
You must be pretty legit too, because you can't just go and take like 3 or 4 takes on guitar and get 1,200 videos. You got to one take it pretty much.
A lot of that, yeah. It's a lot of preparation, just learning the song, make sure I have it down, and then go and hit record and get it get it recorded pretty quickly.
Yeah, man. That's pretty cool, dude. Your YouTube stuff looks great, man, on the guitar stuff, and that's such a good space to be in, man. Like, so beneficial to a lot of people. I've had a lot of people ask me for guitar lessons and stuff like that, and I'm like, man, I just don't know, how great of a teacher I am when it comes to that stuff, because I'm self-taught, and it's just like I don't know, and so like being able to send people to good channels like that, man, is kind of a cool thing that we can do these days, with people, and a lot of people are searching out help on YouTube, for anything.
Yeah, definitely. You can learn everything on there. And, I'm like you. I pretty much taught myself how to play guitar. And so I don't really think of myself as a teacher, but I kind of would put out a video and people would give me some feedback and tell me what would be better. So I just been trying to just make better videos as I go, that are more helpful for everyone.
Yeah,
so,
man, that's
definitely.
That's so cool, and it's so relevant to me, what you just said about you don't think of yourself as a teacher, but you're putting out videos, and some people find help from it, right? And so what's funny is this morning I was out shooting my bow, and I did a little live Facebook thing, and I have a couple of friends, and then some of the people that listeners and that kind of thing will tune in, and we'll kind of chat and comment. It's like a really good, like, just morning peaceful thing to do in the morning, where we all just kind of hang out and chat. It's like coffee shop, but digitally, and we're shooting bows, or I am, and so like I don't know, I had this like disclaimer like 3 or 4 times, like, I am not an expert, but if you're asking me this question, here's my experience, and man, we got a message from a dude that was just like so mean, man, about like about how much of an idiot I am for not thinking one way or another, and this and that, and I'm like, I've tried to say I'm not an expert at this, this is just me putting stuff out. Hopefully it helps some people, and I think that's a good way to go about it, because there are definitely people who are experts at guitar playing or shooting a bow, and I don't claim to be that. You don't claim necessarily. It didn't sound like to be that, and so, but people can still learn, and I've learned so much from people that don't claim to be experts. In fact, people that claim to be experts oftentimes are just jerks. So. Anyway, it's cool that you do that, man. It's so cool that you're putting that stuff out there, and honestly, when it comes to the elk hunting stuff, KC and I spent a lot of time learning from those videos last year as well, right, KC?
Oh yeah, man, and that was kind of a big thing for me is, and that's how I found. I don't play guitar, Robbie. Sorry, I do elk hunt. So I drew a tag last season in the southwestern corner of New Mexico in the Gila area, and was kind of looking for really information more about how to approach hunting that area, because there's a lot of media content out there, and I'm sure you know this, that just says go in the woods, scream at bulls, they'll scream back at you, and you shoot them. And that's just that might work if you're trying to go out and shoot an elk, and or a bull, and that's cool, and I've done that for sure. But the more experience I have in the elk woods, the more I realize that you need to have a much bigger toolbox than that, and that's what I really appreciated from your videos. You seem to be a very humble and intelligent guy, and I really appreciate that, man. And I don't say that lightly, but I do get the sense that there's a lot of, I don't know if it's the culture of the desert Southwest down there where that Arizona, New Mexico area or what, but it seems like I run across a lot of very friendly, helpful people from that area of the country. So, not saying you're not special, but it seems like there's a lot of guys, that are real helpful from that part of the country. But you really approach the elk thing in a unique way, and I appreciated that. You seem to hardly ever say anything to the elk. Is that right?
That is correct. I just kind of over experience and learning to hunt the way I hunt. I just found it to be I have a lot more success when I'm quiet. The elk don't have any idea that I'm there. They're not looking for something. They're not hearing a cow call come just out of the blue, from 100 yards away that they haven't heard before or something. And so I just kind of learned to shut my mouth if they're making some noise and just hunt them like I would a mule deer or an antelope or anything else that, just stalk them. If I know there's an animal there, I just want to be quiet, get the wind right, move in slow, try to figure out where they're going, what they're doing, and just try to go in unnoticed and get as close as I can and do that. A lot of times I just, when I was learning, and I've hunted all my life, my dad and his brothers, my uncles, they would take me hunting, ever since I could walk, and they were bow hunters. And just over the years, we would do lots of calling. When we first started hunting elk, and elk used to come in a lot easier 20, 30 years ago, before there was a whole lot of pressure. But it just seems like, the older bulls, the bigger bulls that I want, they've been through several hunting seasons. They've heard lots of calls. They've, kind of been called in and spooked, and, they get wiser as they get older. So for me, it was just kind of a learning process of trying to get on elk and trying to call them in and having them shut up and go the other direction or, just something where it's like, okay, it works every once in a while, but, for these older ones, it works a lot less often than with a younger bull that doesn't have a lot of experience. So yeah, I do try to be as quiet as I can. I call pretty much only if there's nothing going on and I'm trying to locate something. I'll throw a cow call or bugle every once in a while. But once I know there's something there, I just want to go in and try to see if I can get in there without anybody knowing I'm there.
Yeah, for sure. So you really said something at the beginning of that kind of perked my attention. It's if you know that there are animals there. How are you making the step before that? How are you locating elk, in a big unit in New Mexico?
Just a lot of covering country. Leaving the truck before dark, getting up high on ridges, to listen, and just lots of glassing, looking for sign, fresh sign, tracks, whatever sign I can see. But, during the bow hunts, when we're, during September, when we're out there in the favorite time of year that we all love, sometimes you may hear bulls bugling, just as it's getting light or before light, in the dark. So that's a big part of it. It's just listening. And, you might hear something way, way off, or you might hear them screaming just up the draw, not far away. But that's for me, is getting out there early, getting up high, listening. And if nothing's going on, if there's nothing to hear, which sometimes the case, early in September, when they're kind of not in the full rut yet, a lot of times days will be quiet. And so then you're just up high doing a lot of glassing and just covering a lot of country. If you find some fresh elk sign, then you can kind of spend a little more time there, a look around. But that's kind of how I go about it. Lots of looking, lots of listening, and lots of miles. A lot of times it's just going another mile or two before you get into some elk that are maybe out where you can see them or making some noise, because finally you crossed over one final ridge that once you got to the top of it, you could hear something going on the other side. So a lot of it's just covering a lot of country.
Yeah. So how are you making that happen? Are you going in and packing in a couple miles and spot camping and then kind of making a radius out from there? Or are you kind of, jumping from trailhead to trailhead and trying to locate elk that way?
Yeah, for me, I'm just kind of, I've hunted a lot of these areas a lot. And so I kind of know places that I prefer. And that for me is a big part of just, going into an area, learning it very well, learning kind of the habits of the animals in that area or where they kind of generally like to be at certain times. And I don't normally, hike way in there and set up a camp and then hunt from there. A lot of the areas that I hunt they're not really remote, and you can walk. You can park on a road and walk a couple miles, kind of get back into a little area. But if you walk a couple more miles, you're going to, be on another road or something. There's not like giant areas of places where you can really get back in and kind of stay back in. So for me, I'm driving somewhere, first thing in the morning and taking off from there. And generally, a lot of times I'll just kind of hunt an area for the morning, go back to my truck, maybe go hunt a different area that afternoon. Sometimes if I'm in something or I know there's a big bull in an area, I'll just, park, hunt back up in there and stay up there all day and then come back out, after the nighttime hunt. But yeah, I don't generally do any like packing in, spike camping, that kind of stuff where I'm hunting.
Do you so if you find a big bull like that and you sit on him all day and you don't get it done that day, do you expect him to be back in there again the next day if you didn't, mess him up?
I never really expect them to do anything or be anywhere, just because they can appear so quickly, they can disappear so quickly, and overnight they can go 5 miles and be somewhere else the next day. But if I do see something that evening, I'm going to kind of, more than likely, if because I'm usually, when I'm hunting myself, if I find a big bull, one that I want to shoot, they're not all over the place, so it's not worth it to go just try a whole different area the next morning when I saw a big one, somewhere, and I know where it was when it, the evening before. So I'll go back in there and check it out, and very, very likely may not see him. But so I'm kind of expecting it, but knowing that anything can happen, and these animals can just leave very easily whenever they want, or they can stay in an area and remain invisible and, not be seen again.
So what about, so if you're going to go back in there the next morning, or I guess if you're going to go in the morning, you're going to go in before it gets daylight, how far ahead? Because we had a guy on recently that he likes to go out after the hunt in the evening, and then he'll stay out a few hours at night, locate some bulls that are bugling or some elk moving through or whatever, and then take a power nap, get up in the morning and go back and try to find them again. Are you pretty much just mostly doing most of your night locating on the way in the mornings, and how far ahead of daybreak are you going in?
Just kind of depends on where I'm wanting to get to, and the area I'm hunting. Generally, I won't leave my truck more than an hour before daylight. That's kind of as early as I would leave, but it kind of all just depends on the area that I'm hunting. Sometimes I'll be leaving my truck right at daylight or right as it's getting light. But up to an hour really before light is about the earliest.
And if you don't locate any elk on the way in, and you get there and it starts getting daybreak, you still haven't heard anything, what do you do at that point to find elk?
For me, I generally commit to an area, for a morning or evening. So, it's starting to get light, or it's an hour after light and nothing's going on. I'm just going to continue on, into maybe up over another ridge, maybe cross a canyon, go see what's in another area. Just kind of, all depends on the terrain there and what it's like. Sometimes I'm hunting super flat country where I can walk for 2 or 3 miles and not cross a canyon. So I might just pick a line direction and just start going. And every 100 or 200 yards, blow a little cow call or something. Because sometimes in some of that stuff, you got to be fairly close to elk. Like when it's really flat and really thick country, a lot of times you can't hear them that well way out there like you can in a big canyon where you might hear one, 600, 700, 800, 1,000 yards away. Sometimes in that thicker country, they can be 300, 400 yards and you still may not hear them. So just kind of, picking a direction or an area I want to go to and just kind of covering country as quick as I can, but slowing down in little spots if there's some fresh sign, or, stopping every once in a while to call or bugle just to see if I get a response and something to go after. That's kind of how I approach that.
Yeah, I got you. Are you picking out habitat features to key in on? Like say whenever you're heading in the morning, you're heading to a spot where there is definitely some water, maybe there's a perennial wallow there or something, or are you just kind of going in and heading to a just general area and just listening?
Usually for me, it's areas.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of places where there's water that I don't know about, maybe in the bottom of a canyon or, just certain tanks. And I'm not really worried about that. Generally, they're going to water in the evening or first thing in the morning, and then they're coming out of that and going to other stuff away from the water to bed. So if I know they water a lot, somewhere at night, I'm not really focused on going there because more than likely they're going to be coming out of that, heading into more of a bedding area,
Gotcha.
For later in the morning. So I'm kind of wanting to go in between something like that. If I know there's something there, if I don't know that really where the water is in an area, I'm just going there because it looks good to me because of the way the ridges are or the canyons, or it looks like a good bit of country that I could be able to cover and find some elk in. But
And that's
I don't
something
really focus.
you're determining that from like Onyx maps or from Topo maps?
No, I just kind of look at stuff. I'm not really a map guy. I just kind of go to areas and look at them and then get out and see what they're like.
Yeah.
That
means you're in shape is what that means.
Well, and a lot, you can look at maps all the time and, sort of find some things about them. But for me, there's nothing like actually getting in there and seeing what it actually looks like.
Yeah.
And so I've never been that good at doing the map kind of thing. I would just rather drive, see what it looks like. And if to me, it looks like a place where elk would be, then I want to go and put my feet on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, a while ago, you've really talked a lot about the listening aspect of stuff, and it sounds like you do a ton of that. Is there a good way to give a metric to when you hear a bull to know how far he is? I guess maybe what's on a good still morning, in an average, hill, valley, habitat, or whatever you want to say, terrain, how far can you hear a bull? Can you hear a bull a mile away?
I don't know that I could hear one a mile away, and now, I don't hear as good as I used to.
Rock star, man. That's what happens.
Yes. All those late nights with jamming amps going off, all that kind of stuff. But, you can hear them out to 500 yards, on a clear morning, across the canyon, even farther than that. I've heard them bugling. Last year on my elk hunt, there was one that I heard bugle. He was probably 700 yards away. So it just kind of all depends on the country.
Yeah, sure.
And where you're at. Yeah. And, a mile is very possible if you're up high and they're down low and there's not much in between you.
So if you are in on a bull and he bugles and you feel like, wow, that bull's close. Is that bull within 200 yards?
Very likely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just kind of, that's one of the things that's always been a very strange thing to me in the elk woods is it's just hard to determine how far away they are, and I know it's so subjective, and I think that's what makes it so hard, right?
Yeah.
It's just like trying to figure out where they're at. You really just have to pick a direction and be sneaky until you finally walk up on it, because he could be 200 to 2,000. It's so tough. So
a lot of times you do hear them and you think they're a lot farther, and then so I'll just take off as fast as I can because I want to get there as fast as I can, and I end up jumping him because he was a lot closer than I thought. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it all depends, on how thick the area is and all kinds of stuff. Like you said, it's very subjective, so you never know, and there's just a balance in there where you just got to figure out, how fast you need to get there and how worth it is to get there as quickly as possible, or you got to sort of judge when you need to slow it down, or it's tough. So the more they bugle, the better.
Yes,
tell,
exactly.
After we've gone a little ways, when they bugle again, what's going on?
Yeah, last year I kind of learned that it just really depended on what direction he was facing. We were really thick into bulls. Like day 9 and 10 of the hunt, it was like, we'd had a very long hunt, but just really got into them, and it was a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
got to hear a ton of bugles. The bugle fest that you hear about, and like you'd hear a bull, and you're like, oh man, he's like close, and then you'd hear him again, you're like, oh man, he like hooked it out of here. What happened? And then 5 minutes later, you're like, well, he's back. That just meant he turned around the other direction and bugled.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it does make a big difference just which direction they're facing.
Yeah.
Can really throw you.
So for you, if you're assuming that a bull, like at what distance do you assume? Do you have to think that a bull is at for you to really slow down and feel like you need to start? I mean, I know it depends on the terrain a lot, but just typically, like, at what point do you feel like if you don't slow down, you're going to get heard, if not seen?
Yeah. So if I think he's 150 yards, I'm going to start slowing down and going a lot more quiet, because a lot of times, what happens, you've got a bull that's bugling and he's got 20 cows that are spread out all around him. And so a lot of times, even if I think the bull's farther, maybe 200 yards, I may be slowing down a lot sooner because I think there's cows in there and I just want to slow down because I'm afraid of bumping them or running into them.
Yeah. How do you do it, man? Like if you watch your videos, dude, you are a straight ninja, because they're like, in some of those videos, man, I feel like there's just cows and satellite bulls running all around you, and it feels like you're just in the mix. And like people, obviously the wind is an issue there too if you get in the middle of them. So like, what are some of those challenges that you really face when you get in close, man? And how are you avoiding those?
Well, that's the big thing is, getting smelled, getting winded by the elk. That's what ruins it most of the time for me. I don't generally use like cover scents or that kind of stuff. I think you can do all that and scent lock and scent away and do the close and all that. But I feel like if the wind's wrong, they're probably still going to smell you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, and there's nothing you can do about the wind. I just do my best to try to keep it the right way. And many times you go in and get very close to where you need to be and the wind's great. And just like that, out of nowhere, just comes in, does a little swirl right around you, and boom, they're gone. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing you can do about that. So for me, it's just paying attention to all that and being very present and just doing your best to go to where you think you need to go to where you think the wind's going to be the best. And then everything else still has to turn out right.
Yeah.
There's all the factors that you have no control over, but you go in there the best you can. And sometimes it doesn't work out. And, every once in a while it does.
That'll make a guy that's going to OTC in Colorado feel real bad about his chances.
So, Robbie, one of the things that we've struggled with a lot, I've elk hunted a little more than Tyler has, but both of us, is the midday thing. First of all, it's hard to fall asleep on top of the mountain for me and Tyler, but really, even more than that, when you only have 7-8 days, if you're lucky to hunt, you just feel like you hate to waste those hours. 4 hours in the daytime where you're just sitting there because it's kind of warm and you don't think the elk are doing much. So you're just like, well, the best thing for me to do is to not move. That way I don't bump elk. Is there a good way to spend those besides napping and maybe just, overlooking an area with glass or sitting on a water hole or something?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, and I know what you mean about the middle of the day, a lot of times for me it's not worth it. Mm-hmm. If I go do a hunt in the morning and it's 10:30 or 11 o'clock and kind of things have shut down and there's really not anything that I know to do, I don't have any problem going back to the truck, getting a little nap or doing whatever and going back out at 2 or 3 or 4 in the afternoon, kind of depending on, just what feels good to me. But other than that, like the only times that I'll stay out there is if I know I'm going to an area I want to hunt all day. And so I'll spend the middle of the day, just up as high as I can get, just glassing to try to find something to go after later on. Sometimes you can find them bedded. You can find cows. I've seen bulls bedded in the middle of the day, or you find them up just, if they got up to feed for a little while at, 2:00 in the afternoon. And so it's, by staying out there, you're increasing your chances. You're not going to kill something back at the truck taking a nap or back at camp, very likely. So, it is a little better, especially if you don't get to hunt elk as often. Sitting at a water hole or a spring or something like that would definitely be more beneficial to someone than going all the way back to the truck and,
Yeah, sure.
sitting out for 4 hours. But one thing that I like to do, like if it gets to be late morning and, there's a bull that he's bugling every once in a while from his bed, and it sounds like to me that he's bedded, he hasn't moved anywhere. Sometimes it can be effective just to slowly get in there, get the wind right, get to where you feel like you're 100 yards away, maybe a little closer. If you feel comfortable going very, very slowly, looking, realizing that there can be cows bedded and they're not moving. And so every movement you make on something bedded is a lot more magnified. They're just sitting there listening and looking. So, but if you can manage your way in there very slowly to get, within 100 yards of something that's bedded, I will do that and just set up, knock an arrow, and just sit there. And often during the day, maybe they bedded down at 10 or 11. About 1:00, that bull just gets up, makes a round through his cows to kind of go check through. And I've had bulls just, get up and do a little loop and come right by. So that's like, if you know where there's something at and you're able to get the wind right and kind of move in close, that would be better to just go and set up and just kind of sit close by and see if something happens.
Man, that's like... that shows your patience right there, man. That's like, to me, it would be hard for me not to just give them a little call, and
yeah.
Like at what point do you, like, even when you're in there and they're all, they are moving around, whether they're moving or they're bedded or whatever, I've never really, it just seems like you never call. Have you called in that situation, and what situation do you find yourself in that you would need to make a little call to coax the big bull in?
I will every once in a while. Like I say, normally it's when I'm trying to locate something or I don't know if he's there. So if I move in to something like a bull that I think he's bedded, he's been bugling every once in a while, and I get into where I think I'm 100 yards and he hasn't bugled for 3 hours, I wonder if he got up and left or if they're there anymore, or, so instead of just sitting there the rest of the day, 3 hours is already a long time if I've sat that long, or it could be after an hour or two, if he'd been bugling every 15 minutes or so, all of a sudden I don't hear him for an hour or two, I might throw just a little cow call. Sometimes they will answer, sometimes they won't, and they'll still be right there. But yeah, I will call at times. And when I'm guiding hunters, everyone loves, that's kind of how they want to do it. That's how they see people on TV do it. And so that's exciting for them. And so sometimes I'll just set up, I'll try to call in a bull, and sometimes I'll call them in. And so it's not that I'm totally against it, but for myself, when I'm hunting myself one-on-one, I'm very minimally calling, only to locate one, not trying to call something in.
So even when you're just pretty much just trying to get that bull to check his cows and come in front of you in most situations, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, when I'm getting in there, stalking in close, I'm just, trying to get in where, he'll, like you say, come check a cow, or if they're just kind of all feeding, however it is, I'm just working my way in there as close as I can and, hoping that he'll come through a spot where I can shoot.
Are you setting yourself up for thermals in that scenario, or prevalent winds, or what are your thoughts on wind whenever you're going to sit up for that long on a bull?
No, I'm just kind of going in there, based on what the wind's doing at the moment. So I'm not trying to feel like it's going to do something else later on. I'm just going in there, and getting in there however I can.
Yeah.
With what the wind's doing at the moment.
Yeah. Do you call in this situation? Is this like what you call an aggressive tactic and something that you're trying to kill that bull that day, or are you going to go in there and say, I'm going to go in, push in, and then if the wind gets a little weird, I'm going to back out and live another day?
No, I don't generally. Most of the time, I'm going in there wanting to kill him.
Yeah.
Sometimes things get a little weird where I may get close and there may be nothing else I can do. And so every once in a while I will turn around and leave. Like if there's something, where it got a little later and they bedded and shut up, but I know they're right there. I can see a cow maybe. But things just don't feel right. Sometimes I will just leave and come back later. Try to wait till they get up and start doing something else. But generally when I'm in there, I'm planning on going in there to try to get them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got you. So let's talk about big bulls, man. You want to talk about big bulls?
I love those.
I love big bulls, and I know you do too.
Yeah, that was a giant one you had last year. That was fun watching that.
Well, thank you.
That guy scream in your face.
Oh, he was. He was magnificent. That's definitely the biggest bull I've ever had an encounter with, and still to this day. It's sad to leave him on the mountain, but it was cool to at least I hate to be this way, but I kind of think of him as my bull. You know what I mean? Even though I didn't shoot him or I don't have any ownership of that bull, but it's just like, I don't know. We had a pretty special encounter there, but yeah, and that's that was the one bull that I saw that I kind of thought was the 350 plus top mark. We saw quite a few other really great bulls too, but I don't really have the luxury of culling or saying I'm going to really go out and look for the biggest and best, and I know this bull's over here, I might come back to him later, that sort of thing. It's kind of the outer state approach, right? And they're the guy that isn't going to get to draw a tag very often approach, or isn't going to pay for a really high end guided hunt. However, I really admire that ability. And would like to be able to do something like that one day once I have enough bulls under my belt or have a good enough tag, or if I draw, one of those really high-end tags. First of all, how do you walk away from a 340 bull? Like, how do you do that? How do you get to the point where you can tell yourself it's okay?
Yeah, well, for me, I've kind of always been like that, and for me, it's not about killing something. Yeah. I love just being out there and the whole experience of it. So there's been times before I had even killed a big bull. I've passed up bulls, 350 kind of bulls that most people I know would shoot because it was only
there's two people day. Right here, that would do that.
Yeah, and many more people. But third day of a 15-day hunt where I drew back on a big giant 6x6, and I'd never killed a 6x6 bull.
Wow!
But I didn't want to shoot him because I wanted to hunt the other 12 days that I had, and really didn't care if I killed one. So for me, it's kind of about finding what I want, and actually, my ideal hunt is to be able to hunt the whole hunt and shoot a giant on the last morning or something like that. Because
that's called anxiety, is what that's called.
But not for me. It's like I know I'm having a great hunt and it's a successful hunt, even if I don't get one, which is, most of the times that I do go hunting, I don't come out with something because I just chose not to shoot something. So it's different, and I don't know why I'm like that, but even as, I was, growing up, just sort of learning to hunt, I would pass up bulls that were bucks that, all my uncles and my dad and cousins, they're like, what are you doing? Shoot them. I'm like, well, it doesn't feel good. I don't want that one for whatever reason. So for me, it's easy. And I just kind of decide in the moment if that's what I want. But I have no problem passing up a very nice bull.
Yeah, I've seen that for sure in your videos, and it makes for great videos because we get to see a lot of big bulls, you know.
Yeah, and that's my thing, you know.
Yeah.
It's like I always want, you know, the biggest I can find, so I know if I shoot this 350, my chances of killing a 380 are gone. You know, it's over right there.
Man, I love
so
those
I keep
numbers.
That in my mind. Yeah. So in my mind, I know that, you know, in order to get the bigger one, these ones, I just have to be okay with watching them and seeing them and just letting them.
Yeah, sure. Letting them do elk stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is there something that you really look for in a bull or an encounter that kind of trips your trigger? You know, I know you said biggest you could find, but do you really like the big six, or do you like to try to find a bull that has the most points possible, or do you like a real vocal bull or anything like that?
No, really, all the big bulls that I've killed have all just been straight 6x6s.
Mm-hmm.
I've passed up a couple that had, you know, a couple extra points that were almost shooters for me, but they just needed to be a little bigger. But I would love to, you know, I love just a giant 6x6, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't shoot a nice 8x6 or 7x7.
Oh yes.
If it just was right. But it seems like, you know, there's not a lot of non-typical points in the areas that I hunt generally, you know, so most of the big ones are going to be a 6x6 unless they're just super giants where they have an extra one or two, or, you know, sometimes they'll have a kicker. But for what I see, a lot of them, you know, just tend to be straight typical 6x6s.
Yeah. That's like my
when
bull.
you see all those points, you know, giant eye guards and thirds and fourths and fifths, you know, just a giant 6x6 is pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's what I thought that bull I was hunting last year was, and then I look at the footage and his main beam splits on the end, and it's like it's not a true it's not a true sixth and seventh. It's like the main beam just split, you know, like, man, those details are so cool. You know, every elk is different, man. You think like, you said the phrase like, you know, just big, beautiful, slick six, or you didn't say slick six, but, you know, 6x6, but there's still so many intricacies in those bulls, and that's so cool.
Yeah, they all have their own little cool characteristics, a little extra something, or a split, or just a big, you know, massive point or something like that. Yeah, they all have their own little things that make them very, very cool.
Yeah, sure. How big was that archery bull last year, man?
The one I shot last year, he scored 374, and he's the biggest that I've got. And
those fronts, man,
so big. Yeah, he's got 23 and 24 inch.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, and he was, you know, I wasn't really sure the first day I saw him that I was going to shoot him. You know, I'm like, well, he looks pretty good, but his, you know, he's not that good in the back, and his main bead's not very long.
Mm-hmm.
But after talking to a couple of people and seeing what they thought, it's like, well, if I get a shot at him, I will shoot him. So,
and he ended up being your biggest. That's crazy. You know,
so it happened. Yeah, it worked out.
That's good. I don't know near as much about field judging elk as you do, but, you know, last year I actually had the opportunity to go hunt big elk, which is cool because usually I just am hunting legal elk. So I find that it's way easier to tell if a bull is big if he's got a big back, but big fronts are very sneaky. Like, it's very hard to tell the difference in a 320 and a 360 if it's just a difference in fronts. Is that something you see, or am I just an amateur? Well, that's also true. So I am an amateur, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of people, and, you know, myself included, and I've looked at a lot of elk, and I've killed a lot of elk, you know, just with hunters, and seen a lot that were alive and then dead. And they, you know, they kind of, some of them can be tricky, but, you know, so I know what you mean. Like, if you're looking at one that's got, you know, giant backs but really weak fronts, you know, they kind of have to have everything. And the way I look about it, and I learned this from a friend of mine named Brian Davis, and he's just an excellent hunter. He's killed many animals, big animals, and the way he kind of looks at an elk, to judge them, a 350 bull, you need 15-inch, basically fronts, first, second, and third points all the way back, and you need a certain length of main beam and a certain amount of mass. And like for a 380 bull, you need 18-inch fronts, and all the way back, and you need a certain amount of main beam and mass. And a 400-inch bull, you need basically 20-inch fronts and all the way back.
Yeah, exactly.
And so for me, you're kind of needed. Some bulls have really small, short fronts. Maybe 12, 13 inches, but they've got a giant 20-inch fourth and a 15-inch fifth, and he's, maybe looks like a 360 bull, and a lot of people would call them that because they see the giant fourth and fifth. So all of a sudden he's a giant, but he doesn't have everything else that makes up that. And so you really gotta sort of look at everything. Yeah,
that's actually kind of the system I came up with myself. Wait, I'm not trying to say I'm smart, but that's how I was kind of field judging bulls was, if they're 12, 13, 14, 15-inch average on the points, then that's the that 2, 3, 4, that's the number you put in front of your 300. If it's a big mature bull, to come up with, a approximate field, really rough field judging. So that's super great confirmation for me that I was doing something right. So I really appreciate Brian Davis for saying that. But man, at the same time, it was so weird to just go up there and just see things that were way bigger than, you just ever imagine you'd experience otherwise,
Yeah. Was that your first elk hunt?
It was my first in New Mexico. I've hunted Colorado OTC I've been all my other elk hunts. So
I see.
Literally the biggest bull on the hoof that I've seen while hunting, at least, probably was at the 300-inch mark. It just which is a great bull in its own right. I'm not belittling that. If I see a 200-incher this year that's legal, I'm shooting him. So but that's just that's the name of the game. But down there it was just a lot different, and you're doing a lot different stuff. Do you find that you can hear a bull and tell much about his sound or his size or his maturity?
No, not unless I've seen him before. Some giant bulls sound like little spikes, and some little 260-inch bulls sound like it would be the world record elk. So I can't tell any difference. They all just have their own sound, and they can be big or small.
Yeah.
So I don't know that there's a way.
I never really had the privilege of and this is probably what we're kind of building towards but when you're traveling as an elk hunter and you don't live in elk country, you just have a different handicap to what you can kind of learn and observe about elk, right? I'm only going to have so many elk encounters in my life.
Yeah.
And you are too, but your number is just by geography going to be greater than mine, right? And I'm not by any means trying to take anything away from you. If anything, it's like, man, you're blessed because you get a chance to learn this stuff, and then we're thankful that you're willing to kind of share it with us, right? But I just haven't had the opportunity to have the elk encounters to know what bulls sound like or what bulls are going to always do. And they're unpredictable, and I get that, right? But, it's just there's something to being there for the whole season like you are, right? Like, I mean, what do you think is your greatest advantage of having a full season to hunt? Well, I guess let's back up. You have to pick early or late. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. When I'm applying for hunts, there's pretty much 2 different hunts to apply for. Yeah. And they can one can be great one year and the other can be not so great. And the next year, the first one's better than the second one. And you kind of never know until hunting season's over, how the hunts compare. But I generally will hunt the first hunt or apply for the first hunt just because it gives me more time to be out there when I get drawn.
Gotcha. Because the first hunt is over 2 weeks. Is that right? And then the second hunt is a little less than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a 14-day and a 9-day or something like that.
Yes. Yeah. I hunted second season last year, and it was a little bit shorter. Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know if I could have handled 14 days. That's a long time, man.
It is. It can be tough mentally and physically, just challenging getting out there and actually having the will to get up every morning and keep doing it. It is a long time.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You do get to hunt some really great units there. But they are, limited entry. Do you still feel like there's a good advantage to you hunting the early season as far as pressure goes? Like you get to hunt elk or just undisturbed?
Yes. The first hunt, and in my experience, a lot of the bigger bulls that I've seen get killed have been on the first hunt. People want to apply for the later hunts because maybe more bugling activity then. It's generally closer to the peak of the rut. But when elk, they've been chased around for 2 or 3 weeks already, they're a lot more skittish. They're harder to get on the big bulls. They've maybe got more cows with them. So that throws a whole other wrench into it when you got 20 cows to try to sneak around or call a bull away from or anything. It's just tougher. So I've seen most of the really big bulls get killed the first week of September. They haven't been hunted yet. They're kind of more in a routine. Some of those bulls are just by themselves or, with 1 or 2 cows. So, but for me, it's just more about there's more days to hunt.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, whenever you have that much time, and you live close to there, it's worth it. I didn't really realize that you also did some guiding. Does that interfere and kind of, I guess, play a role in deciding when and how you're going to get to hunt?
No, I just, it used to back when this year is going to be my 21st year guiding hunters, I think. And, I used to get drawn sometimes and just feel like I need to work. So I can't do my hunt. And, now I guess the past 10 years, if I'm getting drawn, I'm doing that and I'm going to take my hunt and hunt my hunt, and they can find someone else to guide their hunters because
I like it.
Because it's getting tougher to get drawn every year. And, so I just want to take advantage and be able to hunt when I can. So I do that whenever I get drawn. I didn't get drawn this year, so I'm pretty bummed about that.
Oh,
and
man.
Won't be hunting elk for myself this year, but I'll be out there guiding.
Yeah, sure. Is that if hunting for yourself is a 10 on the fulfillment scale of 0 to 10, where is guiding hunters? Whenever you have a successful hunt, how fulfilling is that for you?
It can be very fulfilling as well. Kind of depends on the hunter and how much I like them and how much
What's it take for Robbie Trujillo to like you? What do you got to
do? You just kind of got to shut your mouth and do what I say and follow me.
I like it.
Keep up, huh?
Yeah. Sometimes, it's pretty interesting how people will come in and kind of tell me what we need to do or where we need to be. And that gets a little bit annoying. So
I bet
they don't generally have the success that someone who just comes in and, just says, okay, tell me what to do and I'll do it. But it's a totally different feeling than hunting for yourself. The biggest bulls I've killed have been with hunters, and, I haven't killed anything myself that's as big as some of the ones that I've got for some other people. But so it can be very fulfilling as well. And just seeing them be able to come and, have an awesome hunt and fulfill their dream. Some of these people have never hunted elk before or never killed an elk before or never seen, a 380-inch elk. And, the excitement that they have is, can be pretty amazing. And it's very satisfying to be able to help someone come out and just achieve something like that, something that they've been dreaming a long time for, saving up a lot of money for, to come and do. And so it can be very, very cool.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Do you feel like it's a good idea for guys to go and get a little elk hunting under their belt, like say OTC unit or an easier draw unit or something, before they really embark on like their dream hunt? Or do you feel like there's a very common thing where Easterners like just kind of save up money to finally be able to go on a dream hunt, and they kind of can come out inexperienced. Do you feel like that's okay if you're, saying doing a guided hunt like with you or someone? Like, are you comfortable taking an inexperienced guy, or do you see that guys who have been on elk hunts before kind of have an edge?
Yeah, I mean, if that's all you can do is, come out, never hunted elk before, that's what you're going to have to do. But, just getting out there and doing it, elk hunting, probably wherever you go in Colorado and lots of different areas, is sort of similar. I would think, as far as you got to get out and you got to hike and you've got to, there's a lot that goes into it, what you're bringing with you, what you're putting in the pack, what you're, just elevation stuff. So a lot of people kind of come out not really expecting the hunt to be as tough. We get so many people who see the pictures and watch some videos, and they come out and everyone wants a 350 bull. And they believe that that's very attainable. They believe that there's a lot of them and they're going to have lots to choose from. And it's not like that. So definitely, like, if you've done it before, that does give someone a good edge of sort of just what to expect, and, make sure they're in shape, because a lot of people come out, from low elevation or whatever, and the first morning you go and they can't walk 50 yards up the first ridge without having to stop and take a break.
Yeah.
But, that's really all some people can do, and they can be successful as well, but it just, they
need a rifle.
Just a bigger shock for them.
Yeah, they need a muzzleloader tag for sure. Robbie, how many people have left New Mexico being told they've shot a 350 and it doesn't actually score 350?
I don't know. I would imagine that probably happens quite a bit. I know lots of people that talk about giant bulls they killed, but actually get killed. They're not that, or even close, or giant bulls they saw and then someone else kills them, and they're not really what that is. So, people overjudge a lot, and pictures can make a 330 bull look like a 350 bull. So I don't know the number on that, but I would say there's plenty of those, and it kind of just depends on who you're talking to and who, what kind of person they are to tell someone that they shot a 350 bull when he's actually not.
Yeah, exactly.
I get very cautious, when I'm hunting with someone and I know what they want. I'm doing my best to underjudge it by 10 or 20 points. And if they're happy with a 330 bull, I'm not going to tell them that I think it's 350. I'm going to say he's over 330 or 340. And that way they're sort of happy the other way. I hate to overjudge and then get him on the ground and he's just a 330 bull when we thought he was bigger before we shot him. So I try to be very cautious with that. I know other people don't at times. Some people, it just depends on who it is. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the way to be. If you're going to be guiding hunts, you want to make sure you have happy hunters for sure.
Definitely.
If a guy's coming out and wanting to do, the DIY thing and do it on their own, do you feel like they should try to get? Let me rephrase the question here. Let me structure this the way I think it's going to make sense. Is a guy better to hunt his whole hunt, show up on day one of his season, and be able to stay the whole time, or is he better off showing up 2 days, 3 days ahead of time to scout and get to learn an area, but maybe lose that off the back end?
Huh. Interesting.
Did you follow me there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So hunting the same number of, either hunting a full hunt, having never been there, or hunting 2 days less and being there a little early.
Yes, sir.
I don't know about that. For me, like if I would say it's best to get there a little early if you can. But you can also luck out and go to an area you've never been to, and first morning get into them and get them. So that's a tough one to answer for me. I don't know.
So
definitely, if you've never been to an area, I mean, it's very beneficial to go and learn some country.
Yeah.
But if you're going to miss out on a couple more days of actual hunting, I don't know. I would probably show up and start hunting on day one and hunt the whole hunt for myself.
Yeah. See, that's how I am too. I hear the opposite from other people. And some people, I guess, are kind of like us. But to me, if I'm going to lose days on my hunt, why don't I just scout with a bow in my hand? And if I have an opportunity, go ahead and kill an animal, as opposed to show up a couple days early and, not be able to shoot an animal. I would hate to have a 350 screaming in my face and not be able to do anything about it. That would be terrible. So, yeah,
I'm the same way. I would rather just be there and hunt more days than scout a couple days before and miss out on a couple of days at the end.
Gotcha. Well, this season, you kind of already told us that you're not going to be hunting for yourself. Are you going to try to pick up a cow tag or anything to have elk meat? Is elk meat a big part of what you do and have every year to eat? When I have it, I love to eat it. I still have just a little bit left of last year's elk. I won't try to, grab a cow tag or anything just to shoot some meat. Sometimes I will have a hunter who will offer some meat, or I'll have a family member that gets something, or a friend that I can get a little bit of meat from. So, and I love it. And I do have a deer hunt this year later on in November. Cool. So I'm going to hopefully have some deer meat to eat. We will see how it goes. But I love all wild game meat. And whenever I'm fortunate enough to get a tag and get something, I very much enjoy it. But, there's people will ask, well, what if it's the last day and you haven't got one? Are you going to just shoot one for meat? And my answer is generally not. Yeah. Not just to shoot one. Even though I do love the meat and enjoy it, I still want to, get something that I want and I feel like is more of a challenge for me. And that's what a lot of what I'm harvesting is, was it a challenge? Was this one of the smarter, older ones? And that's a big thing about me in determining what I'm actually shooting. I gotcha. So are you going to be really pursuing a trophy with this deer tag?
It's just a last choice deer hunt, not a great area, but I'm going to try to get a buck that is bigger than any I've shot. So I killed a 190 buck with my bow back in college. So I'm going to try to get something bigger. And there's not very many deer in this unit, so it's tough, and that will be tough to do. So
that's
it
cool.
will be kind of a judgment thing of, if I can even find something that's So we'll see.
Yeah, that's awesome though, man. That's I like the high aspirations. I was going to ask you, but now I'm assuming that's not a coos hunt. That is a mule deer hunt. So
yeah, and that's actually a rifle hunt for me.
Oh,
just
cool.
a last choice rifle deer hunt.
Yeah,
and
but it should be hard to rut, huh? And they should be moving around and doing their thing.
No, it's sort of early. It's before
really?
the rut's going on here. So bucks are generally by themselves or, with a couple other bucks.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm excited to at least have one tag. So
yeah, exactly.
Have you ever? If I can do something.
Have you ever done the Oryx thing?
I've done that one time my dad, it's a once in a lifetime tag. I've never drawn it for myself, but my dad drew it back when I was in high school, and he actually went and wanted to kill one with his bow, and we stocked up on one, and he shot it and hit it square in the shoulder, and the arrow bounced off and the oryx took off. So he ended up shooting one with a rifle the next day. But they're really cool animals. They're fun to get out and see, and the meat is delicious on those. So hopefully I'll draw that one of these years.
Yeah, man. Hopefully so. That's cool. New Mexico is full of unique and interesting opportunities. I mean, it's crazy that you can go to the desert, catch a rare trout, kill giant bulls, and also see whitetail and mule deer on the same hunt. It's an amazing place, and I hope to get to go back there soon and hunt. Man, that's I
hope you do too.
Yeah.
I'm very, very fortunate to live here and feel like it's a great place. I've lived some other places, and I always just miss New Mexico. When I'm gone, and it is pretty cool. The diversity of wildlife and terrain that we have, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you hunted elk in other states?
I only hunted Arizona one time for myself a few years ago. It wasn't a great hunt. It wasn't a great unit, but I went and did get to hunt it. And I actually hunted Arizona again a couple years ago with a friend of mine, just a late elk hunt. But yeah, that's it. I apply for them. I apply for, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah every year. But so hopefully I'll get to hunt some more of these states.
Yeah. Hopefully
before too long.
Hopefully so, man. We just need to see some more Robbie Trujillo killing big bull footage.
Right.
Hey, speaking of, since you're not hunting this year, are we going to get some elk videos from the fall?
Hopefully. We'll see how it goes. I'll be out there with my camera, and I got a few of my guided hunts on video last year and was able to put together some stuff. So I'm hoping to put some stuff together. People seem to enjoy them, and they seem to learn from them, and they look forward to seeing them. So I'm hoping I'm going to do my best to get out there and get some stuff.
What's the name of your channel for our listeners if they want to go watch some really great elk footage?
My YouTube channel for hunting is just my name, Robbie Trujillo.
Okay.
ROBBIE TRUJILLO.
Cool. And what about...
hopefully I'll get some stuff.
Yeah. What about if they want to learn how to play some good old country western swing?
Well, my guitar channel on YouTube is called Learn Guitar Favorites.
Learn Guitar Favorites. Yeah. Awesome, man. Cool. Well, we'll link to that stuff below. That way people can check that out. Now, tell me this. If someone wants to hunt with Robbie Trujillo, is that something that's kind of open to the public, or do you just do guided hunts for particular people?
I pretty much hunt for one main outfitter. Every once in a while, I will work for another different outfitter, but I get people a lot of times just, emailing me or asking me, what to do. So I generally just refer them to one of the outfitters, and then we go from there. Gotcha.
Cool, man. Well, Robbie, thanks so much for spending time with us this evening and sharing some of your knowledge and some of your experiences. You're a really great guy and a great guy to talk to. Very interesting, and we just can't thank you enough for your time, man. Good luck this fall.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It was great talking with you guys too, and hopefully that was helpful. And good luck to you guys. I imagine you have some hunts coming up soon, and hopefully you guys will have some good luck.
Yep. We appreciate it, man. High aspirations, but low expectations. You know what I mean?
Just go out there, enjoy the experience.
Absolutely. Now that was some killer info. Don't forget to subscribe, and a 5-star review means a ton to us.
Remember, this is your element.
Living it.
Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live, headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay? Every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Arts Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.